mean Brian.
And
this is R&B Talks.
yeah.
Sorry.
Reggie and Bob show today.
The Reggie Bob. I'm Bob. I'm being Bob today. I've decided that I'm a Bob today. Decided I'm not a Brian.
As long as Bob knows
today.
what bathroom to use, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, we're good. You're good. Bob still goes to the dude's room, right? To the dude toilet. So, how's your mind, Reggie?
Oh, bro, it is sharp and focused.
What a week, folks. What a week.
Okay, look. I know we said we weren't going to spend a lot of time on politics and stuff.
Well,
really.
I think it's necessary after what happened this week.
Well, look, here's the thing. Okay,
but there is an overarching point that I'll get to with this that it kind of brought me to this week. But yeah, like I watched it was so it had me so jacked up while I was watching it. The presidential address is what I'm speaking of. To watch. The guy gets, first of all, kudos to Speaker of the House, Kevin Johnson, for throwing that dude out. He deserved to be thrown out. You know.
Why is Al Green even in there, dude?
Al Green's in there because
why?
Of the same reason that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders and all these people are still in there because they're so inert. It's like the Matrix. They don't want to be unplugged.
Warren, dude, like
all of them are just like, and to see them holding up these signs, dude. I'm sorry. So you finally figured out what to do with the ping pong paddles you bought. Is about the only thing I can say about that. And then to see all of the utter, just foul, cringy garbage that came afterwards, like, the MSNBC host that couldn't just say kudos to the 13-year-old kid who survived brain cancer. She had to attach it to racism and January 6th. You're such a Nimrod. Sorry, but you're such a Nimrod. Here, and the overarching point for me in this is, you know what, Reggie, I decided this week, I'm done apologizing. I'm done apologizing for them and their ignorance. I'm done. They're joy destroyers is what they are. They say they're the party of joy, but that whole thing was to destroy the joy of the majority of Americans who were watching that. They were literally acting like poorly raised and impetulant children who weren't getting their way. And it summons vomit to the recesses of my mouth, right? Like it's so foul and stupid. And it just disappoints me. Like, and here's the other thing. It makes me think, what in the hell were you people thinking when you elected them? They're no different now than they were then. What are you thinking? That you showed up in majority and said, this is who I want to represent me.
Okay.
Sorry, man. my God. Oh my God.
No.
Sorry.
No, look.
I pray. I'm sorry.
Look,
Jesus, help
here
me.
it is.
Jesus, help
Winter.
me. Okay.
This is what you could say this before Trump got in office. Winter is coming. Yeah. It's here, bitches.
Yeah. It has arrived. Well, and
no, okay. Let me
go.
Hold on.
Please say something that will make me not.
Here's the thing, man. We've there's obviously been political circus of some sort ever since the country was founded. I mean, you can go back and look at the exchanges between the founding fathers and some of this stuff, and it's pretty brutal too. But it's nothing. It's nothing like today in a sense. Culturally speaking, it was probably the same. Anyway, what I thought about this week was really it's not a political party, because I don't really care about political party. I really don't. I don't care if it's Republican, Democrat, Libertarian.
As much about political parties as I care about the denomination of churches. No, I don't care at all.
It's ideology, perspective, moral centers, principles, whatever you want to call it, right? That's what I look for in any kind of thing, whether it be government or politicians or churches or whatever, right? Well, the thing that nowadays just appalls me is the ideology of the left-leaning political stuff. Like that's what it is. Like that it's not political. It's ideological nonsense. Like the transgender thing blows me away. Like you're not understanding that the whole word gender came from a philosophy from a pedophile, sexual deviant person anyway.
Yeah.
And then you're taking that and applying it and then infiltrating that into modern sciences and stuff and replacing real science.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me, right? How can a normal adult intelligent human being not see how that's just utter nonsense?
Well, I'll make it.
That's one example.
I'll make it even more basic for you. There's a basic lack of simple manners and decorum that exists with the left.
Yes.
Like there's a
well, I was going to get to that.
This is the part that appalls me the most. And the way I figured this out was I was having one of my legendary conversations this week because I'm a glutton for punishment. And I was talking to someone, I was standing in line at a gas station, and we just started chatting. It's a young teenage boy, everything in his face pierced, And what's funny about this is he was talking about how oppressive the conservatives and people and Christians and all these people are, and how we're taking everything away from them. And he's so glad that he works for a company that supports him and his liberal views. And then he walked up to the counter to buy $1.39 Polar Pop or whatever it is. I don't even know I don't know what they call them where we were at. I call it Polar Pop because I bought those for years. And he swipes his debit card and gets declined. And I out loud laughed and said, "So that's what the Liberal Party's doing for you, huh?" And then I reached in my pocket and pulled out a wad of cash and paid for his drink and my stuff and laughed as I walked out. Because I'm like, you guys are so inured in a system that lies to you constantly and a group of people that lie to you constantly that you don't know you're behind from a hole in the ground.
Okay. I know, but here's where I was going. Okay. It's not a political thing for me. It never has been about what party you support or whatever it is. I really don't care about that. But what I do care about is what ideological stuff. And for example, when I was talking about the gender stuff, the critical race theory stuff, the all things that I think a normal human being should be able to look at and go, oh yeah, that's actually racism, what you're supporting with this BLM shit. And some of this stuff, right? To me, it just seems like it should be common sense. And I think that's where I'm at with things across the board here lately, is that I'm not lately, I'm talking about few years, as a matter of fact, but I just see that as common sense has not, it's just been eroded from a certain group of people who choose to follow a certain ideological standpoint for whatever reasons that may be. And it's not even right or left at this point. I just think there's like a group of Americans, there's a vast majority of Americans who have like a common sense idea about things. And then you have these loud groups of people on both sides that kind of shout a bunch of nonsense. But you particularly, and this is what I mean by this, particularly the left has just taken that train from common sense off the rails to La La Land and is just completely out of control. And here's I was watching, I forgot what it was. Eric Weinstein was giving an interview about something. He brought up Project Mockingbird again. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. I don't really say that that's a true statement or not, but just so you're aware, that's RFK Jr.'s brought that up again, or he brought that up when he was running for office about how, the CIA and the intelligence agencies were manipulating the media through this Project Mockingbird, whatever. You will not get a clear answer from that. Let me just be clear.
No, you will not.
You will not find a statement from the CIA or NSA or any of that stuff that said, yes, we actually did. You'll never find that. But people are allowing that, though, regardless of what controls the media. They're allowing false narratives and propaganda to thwart their common sense.
Well, it's what it is narcissism.
It is narcissism.
And it's in its purest form. Because if you've ever known like a full-on narcissist, they think if the lie gets disproved, if they scream it louder, it'll become true. And I think that's what the left has done is they've just become, well, we're talking and nobody's listening anymore. So let's just scream a lot or yell a lot, or let's use a slew of vulgarities, you know, in a video that doesn't make any sense. Like they literally cannot fathom that the majority of our country thinks that they're insane.
Okay, here's a great example of what I mean by a mindset shift that is just totally not common sense or whatever. I posted a thing because the Harrison County Hospital here is getting rid of their obstetrics completely. They won't offer any obstetric services anymore.
Okay.
That includes labor and delivery. A hospital, mind you, is not going to offer labor and delivery services. How insane. That just seems so stupid. That seems like one of the basic things that people would need immediate medical attention for to go to a hospital is to deliver a baby.
Yeah.
Yet this stupid hospital is getting rid of it because of lack of resources or something like that, or kind of nonsense.
Well, it makes me wonder, is there a problem financially there?
Well, right? Maybe. But here's the response I got, because I posted this whole forward thing from the Harrison County Hospital on my social media posts, and I got a response from a liberal. You need to look into the red tape anti-abortion laws and how that's affecting women's health care and how the funding for that is drastically affecting. And this is one of the, this is an example of where that has, how that's
the funding for
healthcare.
Abortion doesn't connect at all in any way to the funding for a hospital to have a obstetrics department. That's the dumbest comparison ever. Just because we don't want to give money to Planned Parenthood to kill children doesn't mean that hospitals shouldn't have a place for them to be born. That's again, there's your example of narcissism. I so badly want my broken stance to be believed that even though it's been disproved time and time again, let me give you some statistics. Ever since Roe versus Wade was stopped and it's gone to the states, we've had more abortions done legally than we did before Roe versus Wade was in place. So statistically, the rate of abortion is raised 6 to 8%. So, okay, you're wrong. And that's a statistic. That's not a wishful thinking. That's actually a statistic. And it's coming from a guy who's a conservative libertarian. I'm telling you that the rate of abortions has raised. So you're a narcissist. You need people to hear you because you can't deal with facts. So you think if you get on and keyboard warrior somebody with your garbage, that's going to make you more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for, Reggie? More, okay. More right, I guess is the best way to say it.
They're trying to validate their opinions.
And you're not, and the thing is your opinion's been validated. If you just look at the facts, when Roe versus Wade vanished, every state that wants abortion has it. I'm sorry that you had sex with a man that you weren't marrying and you got pregnant, now you got to drive to Saskatchewan now, Madame Bomb down there. That's not my problem. I didn't tell you to do that. If I live in a conservative state, that's by choice. If you want to go live in a liberal state, guess what? There's one around here somewhere. Pick up and go.
Okay, but if you listen to this though, here's what is fascinating to me. You talk about anti-abortion stuff, but at the same time talk about delivering babies.
Yeah.
Well, which one is it?
Which one do you want?
Right. I mean, like it's really this simple. There's only one of those things actually murders a person.
Yeah.
And actually kills a person. The other is bringing the person from a womb to the external
to life,
right? Or not even to life. It's already alive. It's just to the world, right? So you're telling me that the things that it's worse to have things that deliver
that save lives
people into the world than it is to have things that murder people, babies in the womb. Okay, clear.
And here's the thing, like, if you want an abortion, you can get one. Just because you can't get one in your backyard doesn't mean it's wrong.
No, look.
I want stem cells to be legal because they've proven time and time again that stem cell therapy can bring people back from the worst of the worst. They've even proven in studies that stem cells can reverse early stage Alzheimer's and dementia, but it's not legal in the U.S. yet. But you don't hear me crying about it.
You see, here it's just like this, man. I all I'm saying is that kind of look where you see something and you compare that with you say abortion is related to a labor and delivery situation at a hospital. Now, you can argue about show me funding for one.
Yeah.
Again, there's nothing here. It's a yet another emotional outburst, but show me something that shows me where funding has been cut by this or that for particular obstetrics or whatever OBGYN stuff because of anti-abortion stuff. But yeah, that's just what I mean. Like that kind of the only way that your neurons connect is something that's messed up.
Yeah.
And to kind of associate those two things together and say whatever it is. It's the same thing where if you say I only look at the mainstream media at this point, that's you've made a conscious decision to ignore a lot of information that is out there now because and honestly this is the plan that the liberal hive mind has had for a long time is to control the media and institutions. I mean, hell, the KGB was instrumental in doing that, and this is not even a conspiracy theory. The KGB
Facts.
in the 60s launched a whole operation to infiltrate the American institutions to indoctrinate and promote more communist ideology, socialist and communist ideologies. That's not. I'm not. You can go look that up. It's not even hard. But anyway, so what I'm saying is though, there's evidence where things have been indoctrinated and propagandized and all this kind of stuff. And that you refuse to look at it, and what it is, you're just a coward at that point.
Yeah, you're just weak.
You just don't want to.
Unfortunately,
don't want to see the truth because you're so comfortable in your nonsense, which is completely unrealistic.
I don't understand it, man. Like I don't understand. Like I mean, you take things like BLM, and you take things like, and you know they've been. The thing is,
you deny the BLM. Here's the thing:
it's been proven that it's a con job.
It is.
They stole $90 million. They stole it. None of the communities got any of the money. None of the people that rallied and fought got any of the money.
Not zero, like none.
There were prostitutes hired and strippers, and they bought clothes and mansions, and the proof is there. You can go see. Yet I still see people flying the BLM banner, although the very people who started it lied and stole from you, and you will still stand there because your mind is so weakly built that you will literally believe something that has been 150% proven false. You know, and you know, and here's another one from that address. All right, so we all know that Trump likes to poke the bear. It was actually kind of funny to watch him poke at the Democrats. But there was a point right in the beginning of the speech where he invited them. He said, "Hey, why don't we put down partisanship for the night? Why don't we all clap and cheer for the advances that the country has made?" And every single Democrat there just acted like morons.
Okay, but let me say here's a different take on this, Brian. Everybody talks about how Trump's not. People say he's not so smart.
He's freaking brilliant.
He master manipulated the whole night. Because look, you got to understand this whole thing is theater anyway. Look, this is theater. His congressional thing is theater.
The congressional address was a chance for him to brag, is what it was.
It was a chance for him to put another checkbox in his playbook about how to annihilate the other party.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what it does. On the face of it, you think, well, yeah, he's like inviting partisanship, but really what he's doing is he knows the left's never going to do that. As a matter of fact, if he acknowledges it and asks them to do that, they're going to do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So when it does come time to honor, brain cancer survivors and all these kind of stuff, they won't because he's already asked them to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like he set this whole event up
to make them look bad.
To make them look terrible.
But they're so stupid that they fell for it.
Oh, of course they did. Because they can't help themselves, dude.
Yeah. Like
they're being paid by people who would get mad at them for following what Trump has asked them to do.
Like they're so inert in this philosophy of the U.S. is a bad place. Name another place where you could go and have any kind of freedoms that you have here and not be in danger of dying or constantly being choked out and put down. And nowhere. If you hate this country so much, if it's such a bad place and we're so far gone and so lost, leave.
Okay, here's the deal, dude. It's like I said, it goes far beyond a political thing. Because if it was just political, you could debate issues and policies and ways to do this or that or spending this or that. But it's not. It goes far beyond that. And so what I think is that you've got these powerful, and I think you can see this with the Zelensky thing, especially. Zelensky met with BlackRock, Vanguard, these type of people. Okay, he came in and his. What do you think his conversations were like with them? Much different than the Trump ones. Who do you think wants the war to keep going? Is the people who make the money off of it, right? So that's BlackRock, Vanguard, all these the top freaking people who fund all these things, right? They make money off of war. Yeah. The left is paid by the same people. Yeah. The rhinos are paid by the same people. Yeah. And this is why DOGE is getting so attacked from both sides. It's because DOGE don't care. Yeah.
Well, here's another thing.
DOGE don't care.
All right. So
that's a new shirt.
First of all,
DOGE don't care.
DOGE don't care. First of all, Zelensky came in and took a disrespectful stance with the leader of the free world. Yeah, you don't get to do that. You've been asking us for money because you're a weak leader and you don't know what you're doing. On top of that, we gave you $200 billion, half of which you cannot account for. Why would we give you more? Why? All right, so let me ask you a question, Reggie. If you went to the bank and you gave them your $200 billion and you said, I want you to invest my $200 billion. And you came back 6 months later and the bank said, well, we invested $100 billion in this, but we don't know where the other $100 billion is. Would you give the bank more money? No. You would
that's
be like,
a negative, Brian.
You would be like, no. But this guy, we have so swallowed the hook, line, and sinker garbage that Zelensky has stopped elections. Zelensky has played the role of communist dictator just like Putin.
And
then
conscripting his men.
Yeah. Like
we're talking screaming dudes who are just like,
we don't want to go.
No. Now, here's the thing about this. This is one of those where you see internet videos and you're just like, I wonder what that was or whatever that is. But you see enough of them. This is my point. You see enough of them, you start saying, well, maybe there's something to this. Yeah. And this is what if you pay attention, there's enough different. Now, I'm not talking the same video over and over. I'm saying there's enough different video of people being troops rounding up dudes and putting them in a van while the dude's sitting there screaming. Especially one I saw was really heartbreaking because he was like, I have a kid at home alone. I have a young kid at home. I cannot go. I will not go. My kid is at home alone. I will not. I mean, he was yelling and being pulled into this stupid van. But anyway, if you have a leader that allows that kind of stuff or is the one who's putting all that stuff in, then I have nothing to do with you.
Yeah. I don't want you. I don't want my money going to that country.
No.
If you get taken over by Russia, dude, you did a bad job. You should have done something differently. You're the head of that country.
But
the point is, and here's the thing: if Zelensky would have taken the money and he would have said, "All right, we're going to take the money, but we as a country feel that we should be fair and we should give something back, and on top of that, we're going to make ourselves accountable for the money." Okay, I can go along with that. But you didn't. You stole $100 billion. You stole it. And you stole it. You stole it. You can't account for it. You don't want to account for it. You look pretty healthy there, Zelensky. It doesn't look like you're giving up much. It looks like you're eating pretty good while you're conscripting your men and forcing them onto the battle lines to die, which is a whole separate conversation I could have about the difference between communism and democracy and a republic. But you don't look like you ain't eating.
I mean,
right?
look,
like you don't look like you're suffering.
It's
Zelensky.
not.
You're flying to the U.S. and you're meeting with BlackRock and you're meeting with this person and you're asking for money. Why don't you go get a gun and stand on the front line? You ridiculous punk.
Yeah.
And that's right. I'm calling you a punk. Please show up.
Yeah, it's like this, man. We did this because we had administrations in power and in place that caused a lot of this. I mean, keep in mind, we're going all the way back to when we orchestrated the overthrow of the Ukrainian government for Zelensky to take over because we wanted somebody in place there that was more in line with what American administration wanted.
Yeah.
And this is the left American administration, by the way. We did that. We also stopped the peace treaty when it came in 2022, was it? Between Putin and me. We told Boris Johnson to step in and tell them to stop, to not sign the peace treaty at the time. We did that. We orchestrated all of this stuff through our corrupt nonsense governments that we've had in place for a while now.
Yeah.
So here's what I'll tell you right now is that I can understand why Zelensky would be a little confused because he's been dealing with people who absolutely were being paid to facilitate this war and everything else to make more money.
Hands down.
Whatever. But he obviously didn't do his research enough to understand that that's over. I'm not saying Trump is not a businessman, does not operate in some of these clandestine things or whatever, but I'm just saying it's a different version of that is all I'll say to that.
I will say that the Trump administration, for whatever you want to call Donald Trump.
So far, this one.
Yeah, this one. For what you want to call Donald Trump, and again, I'm not a huge Trump fan as far as his attitude, and he's kept his word, right? Like he's pounding away.
Yeah.
And the left doesn't know what to do with that because the left made a ton of promises under Biden and kept none of them.
No.
We're going to cancel student loans. Nope. We're going to bring back American ingenuity. Nope. We're going to have our education is going to skyrocket because of our plan. Nope. None of it happened. Like none of it. Like he walked away, he piled on debt, walked away and gave away our country.
Well, and plus you hear him right now, right?
Yeah.
He's been in office for 7 weeks right now, right?
Yeah.
And you hear him talking about, well, inflation's still going on.
Yeah, it's 7 weeks in, you moron.
Yeah. What do you, what?
You can't.
He hadn't even got his full cabinet in place.
Well, he does now, I think, doesn't he?
Does he have his full cabinet?
I think his full cabinet is in place. I think that happened right before the address.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. So
I mean, look, here's the thing. You have a lot of finger pointing. You have a lot of big circus moments going on here. But at the end of the day, the ideology of the elite left and the rhinos is the same.
Yeah.
And it's all for what can they do to line their pockets, to control the citizens, to be able to own more things rather than the people. It's all of this stuff that is being torn down as we're going. And you know what? I don't care who gets torn down with it. I guess this is my point. Federal employees are like all up in arms about all this stuff that's going on, about the layoffs, about all this stuff. I don't look. Feel for you not having a job. However, I've been involved in federal work a lot with all kinds of contracts and stuff that I've done throughout my whole career. And I'll just say that there is so much waste that I saw just in my little bit of contract work around the federal government. Look, it's bloated as all get out. So yes, it's going to shrink. If you're valuable, go find another job.
yeah, if you have value, you won't have any problem finding a job.
Well, that's not necessarily true either. I mean, I get how some industries or whatever have ebbs and flows of how they grow, whatever. It's going to be tough, but I have to look at, like, if I were to lose my job as a federal employee, I'd be a little heartbroken about that for a little. Go, dang, now I got to figure out something. But he offered what, 8 months?
Yeah, he offered you 8 months pay.
That's
It's 3/4 of a year's pay up, and I think they got it up front.
I don't know, but that's
Like-
look. I can't get that anywhere in private corporate America, dude. So I mean, I'm just saying the deal was pretty sweet, and like if you, I don't know, dude. I mean, it's got to shrink. The government's got to shrink. There's departments that got to go. There's a lot of people that's got to go.
Well-
it's the same thing that Trump did at Twitter, and that's what the government's going to look like. Period. And I'm happy about it.
Well, here's the thing. the left's ideology is so wild. Well, the left and the hard right, your ideologies are so subversive and nonsensical and out of touch that I think it's a psychosis. I call it a cult. I think it's a cult. I mean, the mandate was put in place. The majority of the American people said no to you. They said, no, we don't want your crap. We don't want it anymore. We don't want to hear your stories about, gender transition surgeries for kids and hiding it from parents. And we don't want to hear that. We don't want that.
Yeah, we don't.
And you were there when it happened. Like, you saw it happen, and you're so blinded by your ignorance that you pretend it didn't. And then you continue on this rampage of, I use MSNBC as an example of just open your eyes. Your ratings are tanking. Like, you lost your biggest race baiting anchor to date. You're about to lose more. And you're going to, you got to give them credit, man. They're willing to go down with the ship, dude. Like, they're going to stay on until it sinks. And and I got news for you guys. The Titanic's front end is tipped up and it's going underwater for you. Are you going to get off and swim for safety, or are you going to go down with the ship? And I do believe that most of them are so ideologically poisoned that they're willing to go down with the ship.
I believe you're right. I think they're going to fight in tooth and nail to keep their income stream.
Yeah.
And I do think that they're just going to ride it and just fall.
Yeah. They're just going to go. And the fault of it is this. I honestly, if you got down to it, I honestly think that probably the majority of them don't agree with nor believe anything that they're spouting.
Zelensky met with BlackRock, JP Morgan and Chase, Bridgewater, ArcelorMittal, and Blackstone. Those people.
Like the grill? Blackstone?
No, I don't think so.
I say.
But anyway, that's who he met with. There's video of it right there. But anyway, so if you're not familiar with some of this stuff, the World Economic Forum is a place where some of these people get together and they talk about world domination.
Yes.
It really isn't supposed to be that, but that's what they end up talking about. This is the same org that it's publicly available that says you will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
Okay? Now there's some sense to that because they're thinking, hey, look, if you won't have to, there's nothing you will own. You'll be pretty much it'd be like a pseudo that what they have envisioned. I'm just going to break this down. Here's what they have envisioned for the world is Star Trek, where there really is no actual dollar signs or anything. It's all communal. They decide what goes what. It's for under the illusion, and I'll say this, what's different than Star Trek is it would be totally an illusion that there will be a small group of people who are at the top who dictate everything and own everything and have the power to do whatever they want. As far as how they do stuff and have all the power, everything like that. Okay. So that's really what they're looking for. It's a place for the rich to get richer and more powerful. Okay. Yeah. That's the whole idea of like the Schwabs and
how do we make money?
Morgan Chases and the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and all that stuff. Okay.
How do we make money?
They're the ones who have been pulling the strings and stuff for the left leaning and rhino establishments for a long time. Like you have a group of people now. You can read. There's a couple books, man, that've been pretty good about. They like go through the whole thing about who's done what and even quotes and historical writings and stuff. Even goes all the way back to some of the presidential assassinations and why they occurred and everything else. Like, because one of the things JFK was that we're still waiting on, right? Is like, was that CIA that did that or was it not? Was it all this kind of stuff? Now we've already seen interviews with some people who said this where the public just wants validation of that. So anyway, what I'm getting at is like, there's definitely like very the world's most powerful people, including the Fed, which needs to go away in order for everything to really, if you want absolutely all this stuff to stop, bleeding and power mongering and corruption to go away, you get rid of the Fed. Anyway, where was it? I lost my train of thought now. Anyway, so one other thing I wanted to talk about, the Epstein files. Hi, Brian.
I have a lot to say about that, but I do want to read something really quickly to back up something that you said. Okay, so all you anti-baby people out there, NBC News, Axios, and PBS apparently have reported this. Despite bans in many states, the overall number of abortions in the U.S. has slightly increased since the Roe versus Wade overturnment. Okay, so again, and here's how stupid this is. Since Roe reversal, there's been a notable rise in the use of home medicated abortions. So all you people out there running around, pulling your hair out and saying, oh, there's going to be less. No, now it's easier. You can go get a pill and go lay down in bed and swallow it, take a nap, and your baby's gone. Shut up. Shut up. You haven't lost any rights. Nothing's been taken away from you. If anything, they're looking for ways to make what's available a lot easier to do. Shut up.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Now on to the next subject. Sorry. Shut up. I'm sorry.
Epstein files.
Epstein files. Let's roll.
What do you think, Brian?
I think that this is intentional. I think that Bondi is making them wring their hands is what I think. I think she has everything she needs to crush a whole lot of people. And I think this is another one of those Trump games, pull the string. Oh, let's leave the string right there for a second. Oh, baby. Sort of. I think pretty soon he's going to go whoop and pull the cover off the car at the game show, baby. And they're all going to get wiped out. It's this Trump reminds me, you seen that The Greatest Showman on Earth, the movie where Hugh Jackman played the circus guy? I think that's what Trump is. He's the greatest showman on earth, right? Like I don't like the guy's stance on a lot of things, but when it comes to putting on a show, dude's a performer. And I think that what he wants is for everybody to be like, oh, he doesn't have anything. And then he's going to whip the cover off of it and you're all going to be screwed for what you said. So I think she has everything she needs. I think this is the trailer before the movie is what I think.
Okay, look, here's what I'm going to tell you right now. I think Patel is just now starting to get things under his wing. Yeah. Right now he's there, but that takes time, Mike, to when you fully get ushered into the leadership role of that magnitude, it takes time to get things sorted and know what's going on and everything else. Mm-hmm. He's starting to make some treason arrests and stuff. So I think some of that has to do also with the delay in the Epstein files, because maybe it's just like Patel's just not quite, he doesn't know where some of the leaks are and all this kind of stuff because it's rancid, right?
Well, and on top of that, I think that in order for him to be able to arrest the parties without having to chase them down, the last thing he wants to do is have, and him, if you don't think him and Pam Bondi are talking about this every day, you're crazy. I think that him and Pam Bondi are keeping some things locked down because he wants to make arrests and he doesn't want to have to chase anybody. And if they don't know who's in trouble, then they don't know whether to run or not. And I think what you're going to start seeing is some serious arrests being made, just like Kristi Noem when they're about to prosecute the guys who leaked on ICE. They kept that under wraps. They still haven't released their names, right? Because they're not gonna They're not going to give them a chance to run.
No.
Right? They're not going to give the Democratic Party a chance to cover them up. Right? The Republicans are smarter than that. They've watched the Democrats poorly. The Republicans are playing chess while the Democrats are playing
tiddlywinks.
Lincoln Logs, because the Republicans understand that if they give any information, the Democrats are going to go into a scramble. So they're not going to give you. They're going to give you just enough to keep you interested, and then soon you're going to start seeing people get arrested.
Yeah,
I think you're going to start seeing people on the Epstein list get arrested, and then it's going to get announced after they're arrested that they were on the list. Right? I think they know better at this point. I think that the closer you play, I think Trump learned that in his first term. Trump was wild card, threw a lot of stuff out there, said a lot of things, gave a lot of information, and the Democratic Party used it against him.
Right. Yeah.
Now he's not going to do that. He's probably told everybody in his cabinet, it doesn't go out unless it's cleared with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you're about to see, you don't know what kind of car it is, but you're about to see him pull the cover off to see what you won. And what you won is a whole bunch of pedophiles and idiots who are going to prison.
So here's the thing. I fully agree with you, Brian, about the Epstein files. I really do. I think that, there's a game being played here. There's pieces being put in place and stuff. You hope that's the thing, you don't know, but from all indications of how other things have gone down in this administration, that's the most likely thing that's happening.
For sure.
Okay. And I still say everybody should keep pressuring.
Yeah.
Because they need to know how important that is to us to know that list to get exposed and for those people to be brought to justice.
I want it all. I want the Epstein list. I want the Kennedy files.
I don't think Patel said he's not. I don't think they're going to release all the Kennedy files, man. Once he got in there, I think I saw an interview where he said, nope, there's some of that can't be. I don't know why,
But I mean, we're protecting people. We're literally protecting people who are child predators.
Well, with the Epstein stuff, yes.
Yeah, with the Epstein stuff, we're literally protecting people who are child predators. There's no common sense in that.
Here's the thing about Diddy Combs, right?
Yeah.
All his stuff in his list of people. Well, has his list of people been blacklisted?
No.
Nope.
No.
I mean, some of the crap that they were doing were pretty heinous.
Yeah.
So that should tell you how that's perceived in that whole left-leaning nonsense. It's okay.
Well, but pedophilia has been consistently attempted to be normalized in the left-leaning liberal party too. They're no longer pedophiles; they're minor attracted persons.
What they are is in danger. If they come around me or try to do anything with my kids, they are in danger.
Well, and
that's what they are.
I did read something very interesting the other day. I was reading an article about a guy who was a convicted pedophile, and there was a guy interviewing him in prison, and they asked him. They said, "Why? How do you pick your victims?" And you find this very interesting.
Oh, I think I've seen this.
He said, if the father is a strong father, has a very masculine presence, I don't go after that kid. So all you sappy weak dads out there, buck up, big guy, because one of them just came out and told the secret to how they pick. And these, in this week, I want to be my kid's friend, not my kid's parent kind of position, could get your kid put in some serious danger. And I think you need to really kind of realize that,
well, okay, look, here's the fact is that the world is not a peaceful place in general.
No, it's not.
We have developed and evolved our societies and civilizations in a way that have negated some of the dangers that we would see outside of those things with technologies and everything else. But let's be real here. The natural world does not operate on a safe space.
Yeah.
That's not how it does at all. Matter of fact, it's on purpose where if there's a predator and prey have a relationship everywhere.
Yeah,
for
sure.
I mean, there's no one, there's the apex predators are the only ones that really don't have any, and that's just because they're at the very, very tip top of the food chain.
Yeah. They're the best of the best in that
situation. And even they get bested.
Yeah.
I mean, lions do sometimes by packs of hyenas or wild dogs, or you see killer whales get sometimes thwarted by other bigger sharks or something in rare instances and stuff like this. But in general, it's the whole natural ecosystem we live in is in a relationship between predator and prey.
Yeah, for sure.
So, it's again, yes, we've been able to create things and live in certain manners that negate some of this, the dangers of the world, but it doesn't take it away, especially with our own kind.
Our job is to protect the weak in our packs. And the one thing that you're not doing that is protecting your children is leaving them open to be victimized by your poor ideologies.
Yes.
That's to me the biggest danger out there. And that's why, my sons and I will talk all the time, and I tell them, don't be weak-minded. Don't be weak-minded. Be strong of mind. Being strong of mind will keep you out of most danger because it'll make you aware, right? I don't make my kids paranoid. I just make them understand that there's a very hyper-specific role that we play as men that is this nature of being aware of the danger around you. People ask me all the time, Brian, you talk about, taking care of your family, protecting your family. It's literally a thing you have to do every day. You have to protect your family. And a lot of and good men, you won't even know they're doing it. It's just in their nature to do it.
One of those things is being financially, at least try to be financially smart.
Yes.
Okay. Now, it's not everybody's bag, right? But one thing, and I don't, if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, it's like learn about like from where we went from gold standard to a current currency to the Fed and some of the other thing. And now the big thing, what I would encourage anybody to look into is the CBDCs, the central bank digital currency.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important to kind of be aware of.
I'm aware of it, but I'm still a little skeptic.
I know. But I'm just saying it's something that you got to understand. When Bitcoin came out, it was like a thing. Everybody thought, well, now it's huge, obviously. Now it ebbs and flows, right? I mean, we got just like the dollar does, but I'm not a digital currency person because I think it's just bizarre that we would have this blockchain that, has this encrypted thing that manufactures this coin that is worth this much dollars. And this, it's just that, I don't know, that it seems kind of all kinds of mumbo jumbo. Now I understand some of the technology probably more than most people, but it just doesn't set right with me, I guess.
I don't understand the whole purpose of it. I don't understand how you create it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't understand how you
to
me, it's like watching Johnny Mnemonic. Like it's just, it's a digital thing. And
I know.
Whatever, dude. I got you.
But yeah, I mean, it's if you want to get down something though, that's a rabbit hole for any guy, to do. And I think this is where I'm at with political stuff in general. Like I'm just aware of things, and like I try to be aware of things and what's going on and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't look at politics to solve my problems.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't look at politics as a way to do much of anything, only to participate in the governance of the citizenry.
Yes.
That's really where I'm at. Like I don't believe any particular party is,
correct or incorrect.
No, I believe one is completely demonic. I believe the left has gone demonic. I'll say that. But, and I think some of the rhinos can be thrown in there. That's what I'm saying. But
I mean, there's several I could point out in the Republican Party that are, you're not really a Republican. You just chose that side because it was more popular.
But I mean, like, I guess here's all this stuff about you said that's come out and all this crap. I mean, I just think you're really stretching the truth. Like you're willingful, sheep-minded to like keep ignoring stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the facts are in.
All of these things. Yeah, I know. And this is what I mean by like when we're talking about what we all the things we've been talking about today. It all comes down to I just think that you are completely. You really got to reanalyze your mindset about things if you've only looked at and refused to look at whether it's right wing, left wing, whatever, independent. If you're only looking at CNN and MSNBC and ABC, NBC,
Fox News, whatever,
you're missing it. The world has moved on from a mainstream media approach. Like it's no longer that way.
Yeah,
like you have independent resources now that are immediate and they're not censored by anything. They're not controlled by anything. Yeah. They're just out there. So if you got Joe Schmo down the street who posts a video of something, it's Joe Schmo down the street posting a video of something.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not like you take that for like real critical journalism.
Well, and they really got to think too, because they're a little late to the game. Right. Like the Democratic Party is now trying to do this social media thing, and they're now trying to do this podcast thing. Gavin Newsom has a podcast, which, by the way, one of his episodes has Charlie Kirk on it, and Charlie Kirk kind of tortures him through the whole episode. It's kind of great. Gavin Newsom asks him, well, give me advice for what the Democratic Party should do. And he goes, be better. And like, dude, be better. You're not good. Like you're not doing any good. I mean, you know, there's been so many, and the problem is you guys keep stepping on your own tail. Like, you know, the Jasmine Crockett's and the Gavin Newsoms, and you're stepping on your own tail because you're showing your true colors when you go onto these podcasts and you say the absolutely uneducated things that you say. And their favorite thing to say is, well, I've got degrees. Well,
you know what? I got one now too.
Yeah. I don't have a degree, and I think I'm smarter than they are. Right. Like
Charlie Kirk does.
Yeah. He doesn't have a degree.
No, he doesn't. He goes to these institutions and he just sits there and he goes, and the kids even have said multiple times.
But here's the thing.
Bring out your professor.
The Democrats are the ones that want to ignore the argument, the authorities that are arguing, but they want to argue authority.
Right.
So the authorities that are arguing right now are doctors and people that are now willing to tell the truth about everything that's gone on over the past 8 years. You now are trying to use an authoritarian argument to oppose an authoritarian argument. It doesn't work. An argument of authority doesn't make you an authority. It just means that you're really good at vomiting up facts. We need people who are willing to look at the world in a way that says we need to make moral decisions, and we need to make real hard fact decisions. And the problem is the authority that the left is arguing is not authority.
No,
they're just using an authoritarian type argument to make themselves sound educated, and they're not.
Yeah. Well, and I apologize for all the groans and stuff. I'm really sore.
You're all right. It's okay.
I'm telling you, brother, like, I know this is off topic, but it's like,
it's okay.
I don't know. I gotta slow down a little bit, I guess.
I'm the opposite. We need to speed up.
Well, no. So here, folks, if you're unaware, I think we've talked about it, but my tire workouts have been put in overdrive here lately because I'm a buffoon when it comes to mind over body type of stuff. But man, the tire flip. So okay. So for one, because I think we can wrap up the politics stuff anyway. So I got a 30-inch BF Goodrich Power Grip tire, right?
Yes.
I tried to look up how much it weighs, and it was like, they don't make it anymore. It's obvious. This is an old tire. So I mean,
yeah.
But from all indications, it's probably like 180, 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I used to be, I don't know what I used to deadlift, to be honest. I don't even remember. I know I could squat a whole bunch, but you know, when you incorporate a tire flip into another workout, that's a whole different thing.
Yes.
Because
it's total body.
Yeah. Because then because I'm already doing everything total body. So if I go around the tire on like horizontal right, horizontal left, overhand right, overhand left, and then you do tire flips, you know, I get done with that and you're like kind of woozy. You know what I mean?
Takes a lot of oxygen.
Yeah. And then you take a little bit of break, but whatever it is. But I did that on Thursday, and that crushed me because I've been just messed up. So yesterday I did work out yesterday, but it was without the tire flips in between.
There you
everything. Anyway, so look, the one other thing, Brian, outside of politics, is we've been going. We've had the pleasure of going to the Sunday school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hats off to the church and their school. I think the class that we're in is well led.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say. Is. I think theologically it's been solid. That's been cool.
Mm-hmm. I told you.
Yeah. I made the mistake though. I didn't know he was an elder. I think this is funny. He goes, "Yeah, I'm glad to see you here." And I said, "Yeah, we just couldn't take the worship anymore, so we had to come in here." Or what did I even say? I think I said worship sucks.
No, you said. I think your words were, "We didn't really like the worship, if that's what you want to call it."
That's what
I was like, that's an elder dude.
Yeah, I don't care. I would have said that anyway, by the way.
I don't find you one who will hold your tongue.
No.
Nor am I.
But it's interesting how this, so this is a church, man, I grew up in. I mean, when I was in junior high, kind of middle school age was in earlier. When I got to high school, I didn't go to church anymore. I was just doing band contests and all that crap, and I didn't go. So, but they were one of the reasons why I left the Christian faith for a while. I mean, I was tormented by some of the youth in the youth groups there. Like I'd go on these vacation Bible school things, and I was picked on at church.
Dude, kids are kids wherever you go.
And then there was a leader in one of the youth groups later on when I was towards the end of my middle school that participated and like laughed alongside and everything. So that was one of the reasons. And I've had a bad taste in my mouth for that church ever since.
Well,
not that I know it's a different people and all that kind of stuff.
I think this folds back into, again, not to sound like a broken record, but why I'm not interested in being a member of a church. I think that, first of all, I think if I was accepted into God's family, that should be good enough for you. Secondly, you need to understand that a church, people going to go to these lifetime churches, right? Well, churches change, right? They get worse, they get better. So you have to be able to adapt and grow and go to places where they're more suited for that stage in life. I think that was, what the church, Jesus and his preaching, he didn't pick a building up and carry it everywhere he went. Like it was just, the church was when people gathered. I think part of the problem with churches is we've turned church into a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're hiring a business, you're hiring on resume. You're not necessarily hiring on character. And you get into situations like you were in where you've got somebody who may have gone to a seminary school and may have done the things that need to be done, but at the end of the day, they're just not a really nice person. And that sounds like kind of where you were at. I've been really super lucky in the sense I had a bad experience as a really young man because of the Pentecostal church and my grandfather and the hypocritical actions, which turned me completely against the church.
I don't know what you're talking about, Ryan.
And then when I found my way back to the church, I actually was brought back in by a small church, but the youth minister was a really nice guy who did something that I've yet to see another minister do up until this point. He didn't try to get me to become a member of the church. He just tried to get to know me. Like, what's up, man? How are you? Tell me about yourself. And led me by being a good individual. Now, we've ran into some folks. I think you and I have both been a part of being in churches where there's been some folks where I've been like, you don't need to be in a church because you're not really a good example of a Christian.
Well,
when you're out there screaming and shouting people down and tearing people apart and telling people they're going to burn in hell. I don't think that works. I don't think that approach of yelling and screaming and wearing a bullhorn and what marching around with like flames on a poster board with it says, "Oh, you're all going to burn." I feel like all you're really doing is giving people who aren't faith driven people ammunition to not be faith driven people.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing I think about a lot now, Brian, is like now in our, where we are in the stage of our life. I mean, like we have such a different perspective and understanding of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm way more. It's not tolerant necessarily, but it's like I can empathize and sympathize with a lot wider breadth of person than I used to be able to.
Yeah, for sure.
So I can
mentally we're stronger and more.
Yeah, it's like you're more secure in who you are. Therefore, you see people a little bit different, and that's what I mean. Like even nowadays, like I can look at churches and stuff and understand. Look, we're full of people, and people can be pretty stupid and dumb and do dumb things and say dumb things, and this is why even me, like I fully go into everything, knowing who I am. I mean, this is like, I know I'm going to be pointed. I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to be a little probably stronger than what people are used to. Mm-hmm. And that will cause some kind of thing. I'm fully aware of this. Right. But I live and breathe it because that's who I am. That's what I don't, when I try to deviate from that, it becomes off as completely just ick. So I fully engage, and when I engage with anybody, I come with a sense of intention of not being an asshole, but knowing that if I come across one, I may have to own up to that.
Well, I
did this with Robin.
Yeah.
At the class, I fully came to Robin and said, I acknowledge that, I come off strong, and I get that.
Well, I think this kind of feeds into something that I've kind of come to grips with this week, and is I'm done apologizing for being me, right? Like, I think instead of, I think what we've become is as a society of faith-driven people, and my wife hates when I go the Western church, but unfortunately it's a great descriptor.
What else would you call it though?
We're now
the American church?
We're now at a crossroads of where I think that a lot of people in the church want to take joy out of other people's lives. And what I mean by that is, oh, you do that. Oh, you're this. Look, man, I'll be 50 years old in May. I'm done posing for people as to something they need me to be. I am what I am. I'm a good man. I try to be a good father and a good husband every day. I work hard at my job. Am I the perfect employee? Probably not. But I will always show up and do the best I can. I am strong in my beliefs. I am unique into myself, and I'm no longer willing to deal with people who will look at me and go, because you're not like me, you don't belong. And I think that's where we're kind of at. 'Cause I think we try to, I think, you'll be, people have things that bring them joy and different things that bring them joy. You have things that bring you joy, Reggie. You really enjoy a pipe and really enjoy. And when people try to pull that joy out of your life, because they don't want you to have that moment of joy, they want to enjoy the fact that you're not doing it so they can enjoy that moment in your life. Well, that's not what it's supposed to be, right? We are all unique for a reason, and we all have different things for a reason. And I'm no longer willing to let go of my joys and the things that bring me peace. And none of it is a sin. None of it is anything against God, but I'm done letting go of those things so that another person can take joy in my time. So, and I think you're in that place too, right? You're in that place where I am who I am, dude, and this is what I'm going to be.
That's been the last 27 years or so.
For me, it's about the last 5 years. I've had to find that guy, right? I did a lot of time where I was trying to be everything to everybody, and you just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It makes you miserable. And I think that there's a level of acceptance that the Western church just doesn't have yet. And that level of acceptance is every Christian is different. Every man or woman of God is different. And we have to embrace those differences in order to build up the church and make it a place where people who are broken feel comfortable enough to come there, even in their worst state of being broken, and to achieve some level of peace. And I think that's kind of what I've learned this week is I'm done apologizing. I'm done saying I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you don't like who I am. I actually am not. If you don't like me, that's okay. Don't like me. That's okay. You don't have to like me. There's no checkbox I have for you liking me. Like, oh, you don't like me? Good. I need to move on then.
So,
right?
and here's what I'll say. There's one thing I thought about, and when you were talking, that I actually want to talk about and want to as a topic.
Okay.
James 1:12. Perseverance.
Perseverance. Yeah.
So we'll pick that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a future episode. Another one is discernment. I really want to dig into that a little bit more.
Very, very
because
much so.
Everything you're talking about, and I'm talking about, also leads to how we consider ourselves good or others, and what is good is all about discernment. And that goes right into how we see the world and everything else.
Agreed.
And which is also just a mess right now with a lot of people. That as well. So that's going to come up here soon. So Brian, I guess the end of the day here, wrapping things up, it's polarizing climate we live in. The polarizing climate we live in is not, in my opinion, due to anything political, but ideological. And the more this keeps going on with the nature of things rising to the top and becoming more and more clear, which it is, it's true. It's a good. I hesitate to say good versus evil because it's not a right. It's not a right and a left thing. It's really a disregarding party. It's really an ideological wrong, ideological right, ideological good, ideological bad.
Yeah.
Not right or left. It's really, there's worldviews and perspectives and ideologies and principles that are just not
I think
okay.
a good way to say it is we're at the pinnacle of what happens when you can't see through the veil. I think we're at the pinnacle of we can't see through the veil. So I guess we just got to start doing, turning into our nature. Well, that's dangerous because our nature is what gets us in trouble. And I think what you're seeing is a lot of people that are depending on their own ability to discern life, and rather than, having a source to pull their morality from, which gives them a better ability to discern through what they're doing. And right now you've got a whole lot of people that are just, they're playing Battleship on a Monopoly board. Like it's not working.
Here's a excellent short-sighted thing where, okay, you have one person A who looks at and says, oh, you know what? We have a lot of poor people that are in need of food and shelter and stuff. Mm-hmm. Person B sees the same thing. Yeah, we have a lot of poor people who need food and shelter and stuff. Person A says, hey, you know what? Let's institute a government program that we'll just, and we'll take money from everyone to pay for the poor, to give them food and shelter. Not understanding that person B is then forcibly taking resources from his own work and stuff that he does to provide for his family to support the poor and the needy that he may not have, but it's forcibly taken. Or here's the thing. You are threatened with jail time or death if you do not give that stuff to the government. So how does that equate to a proper way to handle a situation? You both see the problem, but one side sees it as a way, it sees it as okay to take from someone else to help this other person forcibly. Right?
Yeah.
Then the other, like person B might say, well, then let's start a nonprofit organization that people can donate their money to help those poor people.
Well, here's a better way to look at it. And here's
trying to simplify this as much as I can.
Here's a problem I have with the right. This has been a problem I've had with the right for a long time. And I hear a lot of right-wing people invoke the name of God. Trump. I've heard some of the radio personalities, Megyn Kelly, a lot of people who want to talk about Christian moral values,
Butter it
Christian
up.
moral views, right? If that was really your concern, then you'd be challenging the church. And here's what I mean. If I were Donald Trump and I were a true Christian, I would hold a press conference and be like, all right, I'm going to challenge every church in the United States. We have a homeless problem. We have a hunger problem. We have kids that aren't getting meals. So I want to challenge every church to stop thinking about what's the next building you're going to build. Stop thinking about what the next, mission field you're going to reach out into, and start thinking about the fact that a few blocks away from you, there are families suffering and people starving, and you need to go take care of those people because that's what the church is for. But here's the problem. There's no profit in the church if you do that. And you have a whole lot of, and I don't care who they are, Catholic, Christian, Baptist, Presbyterian, whatever. We have become scared to challenge the church. And it was Christ himself that challenged the church. It was Christ himself that said, hey, you're not doing your job. But as we've always done in our history, we have forgotten that. Mm-hmm. We have forgotten that Christ challenged the church and told the church, you're wrong. You need to change. And right now we have this really friendly, huggy relationship with the church where, it's okay for you to have $1 million in the coffers. And, I know that guy down the street's about to lose his home because he can't pay his mortgage. And I know there's a young lady whose husband deserted her and she's having trouble feeding her kids, but you keep your $1 million in the coffer because you're a church. Well, that takes away your legitimacy instantly to me.
I've been involved in some of these things. Okay. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I don't. It's difficult now though. You have a lot of scamming that goes on, brother.
It is.
And you have a lot of people who take advantage. Okay?
But we also know that if we truly believe that God holds those accountable, that we shouldn't have to worry about taking care of.
No, I mean, and here's the thing: like you always err on the side of helping rather than not.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's the thing. And I've been a part of some of these decisions that have been made for some stuff, and it gets difficult because sometimes there's not a lot, and sometimes you give more than what you should, or you think you should, I should say, but it's never that has never bit me on the butt so far.
Yeah.
There are some churches that are better at this than others, that have a kind of culture of servitude, I should say, and generosity. And then sometimes you have these churches who just like they're all about growth. They're all about their focus is so much towards growth of their congregation that they lose sight of helping the people.
Well, and here's the thing.
There are those. I'm not saying they're not.
Reggie. So, and this goes back to what I've always said, and this is kind of my final point on this. But I always put this point at the end of what I'm saying. God's plan is infinite. He can see into the future. He can see into the past. He can see into the right now. If I truly believe that God is sovereign, mm-hmm. and that his plan is what's going to happen, right? Then it doesn't really matter how much money the church has in the bank.
It doesn't.
If you're out there doing God's work, then God's is going to sustain that work.
Yeah.
So this whole ideal of, well, there's a lot of fraud out there, and I don't disagree with that. There's a lot of people that'll take advantage of anything.
But I mean,
I've seen people pull up to a food bank in a brand new Mercedes and empty the food bank into the trunk of the Mercedes. And then the woman who doesn't have any money pulls up to the food bank and there's nothing at the food bank for her to take.
But I'm saying we're supposed to be wise, Brian. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We're stewards of what he has.
But we are not supposed to discern until we have a reason to use discernment. So if a lady walks in and tells me she's struggling, okay, ma'am, why are you struggling? There's definitely an interview process, right? What's going on? Tell me about what's happening.
Yeah.
Most people who are liars think they're good at it, but they're really not that good.
Okay, but what I'm saying is most small churches are easy to do this with because there's not a committee or any of that other stuff. What you said though about churches becoming like businesses and corporates, you have so what happens in these bigger ones? It's not one person's decision anymore. It's not this or that. It has to go through an approval process.
Oh, well, trust me, it happens in small churches too.
I know it does
because a lot of the small churches are trying to mimic the big churches.
Yeah, exactly. But you do have churches that aren't doing that. Is what I'm saying, right?
True.
That are really, that don't follow that whole scheme of things. But even some of the bigger churches, man, that they're trying. It's just that they're. It's so interesting how they sometimes you don't get the help people needs because of it's not bureaucracy, but it's just like it's committees and it's red tape and all this nonsense. But because you're trying to protect what you have.
But like here's the
stewardship over what you got.
Here's the thing: if a person walks up to me and says, and I'll give you an example. My wife and I were in Cincinnati a while back. And I was walking by downtown Cincinnati, a little Subway sub shop, and a guy laying in front of the Subway sub shop with empty liquor bottles in front of him says, "I'm hungry, give me some money." And I said, "I won't give you cash, but what I will do is I'll go in this Subway and I'll buy you 2 or 3 sandwiches. I'll buy you a few bags of chips. I'll get you fed." Right? And he looks at me and he goes, "F you, I want cash." Okay, that's discernment. Yeah, I offered to give you what you needed, and you looked at me and basically used vulgarity and blew me off because you were looking for money to go buy liquor. Well, I'm not going to pay for that. I was in Florida once, and the guy on the beach walked up to me, and all he said to me was he was hungry. He says, "I've been sleeping on the beach and I'm hungry." So we walked up to a little shop on the beach. And I said, "Pick whatever you want." And he bought, I've never seen a guy eat like that. Like he bought like a burger and a hot dog and like 2 orders of fries. But he literally was like, "Thank you so much." And then I asked him, I was like, "What else can I do to help you?" And he goes, "Pray for me." And I was like, "Absolutely, brother. I'll pray for you. You deserve." I prayed for him right there. I was like, "Let's pray, man. Let's pray right now." Right. Like so I think there's discernment that God will provide. Like, again, the devil can't create anything. He can only corrupt what God made. And I think part of that too is like, if somebody asked me for cash, it would have to be a very particular situation for me to just reach into my pocket and hand them cash. If you tell me you're hungry and then the argument is over how much cash I give you, we're not really talking about the fact that you're hungry. But if you tell me you're hungry or you're lost and I offer you food or a ride to go where you need to go and you are grateful for those things, then okay. But I feel like that's part of it too. I mean, part of this too is, there's no communication between churches. A lot of these scammers are bouncing from church to church. If churches were communicating, again, get rid of your denominational garbage and be the body of Christ, right? Then they would know who the scammers are. Yeah, but everybody's competing. Well, we want our church to be bigger. Well,
I know.
Who cares? Just make sure they're there for the message and for the growth and for the spirituality of it. Who cares if your building's bigger or your building's smaller, your worship is better, your worship is not, your teacher's better, your teacher's not. Fill the building.
But okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think is along the lines of what you got to empower your congregation to do the work.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not always the church's job to do everything. Matter of fact, it's really the people of the church to do the work.
Well, but I think that's like John MacArthur said when the guy said, "How much power do you have over your congregation?" And MacArthur goes, "None, but I can empower my congregation to go out into the world and do the things that need to be done."
Exactly.
MacArthur said, "I'm not an authority over their lives. I'm an authority of Christ to teach them what Christ would want them to do in the everyday world."
Yes.
And we so many times we look at the church and go, "Well, if you would just take care of it, okay, great." Well, I also think there is a percentage of guilt of the church not teaching how to do those things.
Well, I mean, so here's an example, right? Revelation Tabernacle, which is a church down in New Albany, that's a really, really small church.
Yeah.
You know, but they, you know what they did? They started up a food bank.
Yeah.
They have their own food bank. They do. They gather up. The church members come together. They donate food and all this kind of crap, and then you know people who need it can come in and get whatever, you know, stuff like that, right? That's an example of a church saying, "Hey, we'll help.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Here's how you do it."
There's also other churches. I don't know if I won't say who they are, but they fund organizations that help all kinds of stuff massively, right?
Yeah.
And that's one way to empower the people to go out and do the work.
Yeah.
And my own life, man. I mean, like I have done some work with the homeless community. Like I've volunteered a lot with certain ones. Because for one, I didn't, you know, unless you go and do it, you don't understand the problem.
Yeah, for sure.
And you don't understand the people.
Yeah.
And when you go out and you actually meet the people and you interact with them and you see kind of the scope of mental illness that is out there, as well as just people who are trying to make, or just they're trying to do better.
Yeah.
Of all kinds of things, man. It's crazy. And overdoses and all this kind of stuff that you run into that, I mean, you know, anyway, but you know, I've had a lot of, I think this is where Christians themselves need to just be bolstered to, you know, not be afraid to help themselves. When I was working in Baton Rouge one time, this has been probably, I don't know, probably now 15 years ago. They had on the river, it's awesome. You can like get this whole like river thing with benches and stuff, and you can just go down and you can watch the ships go by, right?
Yeah.
So after work, I'd have something to eat or whatever, and I'd just sit there with a cigar on the river, just sitting there on the bench, just watching the ships, you know?
Yeah.
Just smoking my cigar, just chilling. And a homeless guy comes up, right? He goes, and he asked me about my cigar or whatever. I'm like, yeah, whatever. He goes, and I said, you can sit down, man, if you want. So he sat down next to me. So we sat there and talked for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right? We just chit-chatting. You know, he'd clearly been drinking.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
We were just chit-chatting or whatever.
Numbing the pain, man.
He didn't ask me anything. We were just talking.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you know, he apparently, because plenty of people walk by and goes, hey man, how you doing? I can forget his name now. But you know, at the end of it, he was like, hey, you know, let's, you know, I don't know what, it was late. And I was like, well, no, man, here, I'll tell you what. I gave him whatever cash I had. And I was like, you know, thanks for the conversation. Because to me, I just sat, this dude just sit there and listen to me. Clearly, you know, he had shoes that were like
holes in them.
Oh God. Like it was
stunk. And
oh bro. It was,
you know,
and I'm like, here, you know, look, and I didn't care if he went and bought alcohol or not. I'm just like, you know what? I just sat here and talked to this man for 3 hours, just talking.
Yeah.
About all kinds of stuff.
Just talking about just nothing and something all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
Just all kinds of stuff. And, so I, you know, and I talked to him a little bit about the gospel. I did do that. And I didn't feel bad about anything that I gave that guy money. In Louisville, there's been 2 or 3 times just walking down doing whatever and end up stopping and talking to a homeless person. Some of those have been good experiences. Some of those have been not so good. And it'd be like, dude, you got to chill.
Yeah. You got to relax.
You know, not everybody is going to look at you like some kind of evil person.
Not everybody wants to kill you.
Not everybody does. You know,
I look at you as a person who's having a hard time.
One person I flat out told him, because he was screaming at me about because of, and it wasn't even anything. He was just out of his freaking mind. And I said, you know what? You need some Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
You need to get over yourself and get some Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, cause you know,
you're not doing well.
This is not helping you. And he starts cussing me again. I said, well, you know what? I hope you're doing well. I'm praying for you. And I kind of actually prayed over him a little bit. And then a short one, just cause he was getting really belligerent and I didn't want to, you know, it's one of those things where you're like, man, the last thing I want to do is like put a homeless guy down. Right. You know, you don't want to do that.
No.
But he was getting to that point, and I did. I was like, you know what? Look, man, I'm gonna walk away, and God be with you. I hope you find. You know, that's where I go.
Well, one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You and I both have been to Savannah, and down on the waterfront, every time we've been there multiple times. It's one of my favorite cities just because it's got a lot of history. I love to go to a place where there's a lot of history. And, but one of the things that I love the most about them is you'll see a lot of the homeless people on the waterfront mid-afternoon when the restaurants are really hopping. The restaurants are feeding the homeless. They're bringing full meals out. Like I watched a waitress carry like 6 meals out and just randomly hand them to homeless people. Now, it's costing that restaurant money to do that, but that's people taking care of people.
That's what you should do.
That's a business empowering its employees to take care of people who are struggling. That is the ideal world we would live in, right? Hey, we have a means. They don't have a means. Let's give them something to make their life a little better. Right?
And this goes back to this. Let the people take care of the people.
Yeah.
The government has shown that they can't do that.
And empower churches. Teach your people how to take care of people. Look, it's great to tell this parable from the Bible, but a story is just a story until the meat of the story is attached to your life. So teach your people, hey, if you see somebody that's going through this, here's how you approach helping them. I hear so many ministers who will say, well, you just go out and do it. Well, dude, it's a scary world. It's a very scary world for a lot of people. And I don't know that people are equipped to deal with what could go down in that world. So instead of just sending them out blind fury, give them some tools. Teach them what it takes.
Brian, we're fortunate enough to be a little on the bigger side.
Yeah.
So like if I'm in a major city or something, I don't really feel threatened necessarily. If I'm walking down the street, like I remember when I was in New York a couple times, and you're approached by a lot, and that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I'm aware about how pickpockets work. Now, not that I'm really good at I've never had my pockets picked, by the way, although you think about it.
Yeah.
But it's like people approaching you about stuff. It doesn't really intimidate me or whatever. And it's always been, I think that's always part of the thing why it's no big deal. But there has been times though, like when I went to Chicago one time and I took a wrong turn. I ended up, what street was that? Let's just say it was the wrong part of Chicago.
It's somewhere you shouldn't have been in Chicago.
And at the time I had this big black pickup truck, and here I am in a sport coat, and because I was working,
yeah.
I was on the way to a job at night, and I noticed, I was like, I'm not in the right spot. And you look around, you're like, oh, there's some gang colors going on.
Yeah.
You're oops. So it's like you just know, okay, I got to be on my A game because I got to be aware of things or whatever. Now, thankfully, I wasn't walking; I was driving, and it is a big truck, so it's like it's not like an easy target either.
You're driving like a Ford Escort.
Yeah, I mean, so
which for you would be like driving a big wheel.
I did stop though. I saw this one guy on the corner, and he looked like he wasn't necessarily a gang member or anything, still looked a little tough or whatever. And so I stopped, like, hey man, he's like, what you like, he looked at me like I was freaking insane. Why are you stopping and talking to me? And I was like, I'm trying to get to here. Where I took a wrong turn or something. And he was like, you shouldn't be here. Like, this is don't, you shouldn't stop, go this way, and you better hurry or whatever. And I'm like, and I didn't know. And I was like, well, why? And he's like, this is, they don't like your kind here or something. I forgot what he said, but it was something weird. I was like, okay, man. I rolled up my window and I just got the hell out of there. But like, there's a lot of experiences you get if you travel a lot that helps you recognize and sympathize with people. But anyway, look, we are R&B Talks.
Like, subscribe, click, argue, do all those things.
And we will catch you the next time when we talk about a couple other things. Eventually I'll get the guest thing worked out.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. We'll figure it out. It's math, but we'll figure out the math. So
yeah. All right.
We're R&B Talks. I'm Brian.
I'm Reggie.
Bye-bye.
See ya.